Caldari corporate factions. The Caldari corporate factions are the three power blocks in the Caldari corporate world. For the most part, what passes for political affiliation in the Caldari state is achieved at the corporate scale, with the majority of employees being indoctrinated into their corporation's prevailing philosophy. There are exceptions, particularly where employees have transferred between corporations, but these are few and far between. Although each individual corp is also a unique study in and of itself, containing within it many different positions and dogmas, the political mindsets of the Caldari can still roughly be grouped into three main factions. Practicals. The Sukhavesta Corporation, CBD Corporation, and Nugoihuvi Corporation between them make up the practical faction, which cares little for limiting concepts like ethics. This bloc is frequently associated with organized crime and has an exploitative view of international trade. It also takes a zero-sum view of profit and loss in cluster-wide markets. Generally the most pro-hate of the three political groups, the practicals appreciate the new opportunities he's delivered, and while being forced to cede political control to his Providence Directorate is not a slight that they will easily forgive or forget. They're generally prepared to play along with him for as long as his actions remain productive. They're fully aware, though, that this state of affairs won't last forever, and they're quietly assembling plans to ensure that when he is brought down, the practicals won't find themselves hamstrung by the other corporations. If in the end they have to topple hate themselves, then that's what they'll do. In the meantime, they're content to beat the war drums and use the fighting as a cover for their other activities. Liberals. Comprised of the Hyacida Corporation and Ishikoni Corporation, the Liberals bloc believes in the principles of free trade and generally cooperative relations with foreign powers. They are the strongest supporters of concord in the Caldari state. The Liberals found themselves in a severely weakened position following the death of Otro Gariushi and the undermining of concord authority by the Minmatar elders. Espousing fair treatment for all, both within the state and without, they're somewhat ambivalent about recent events, though disquieted by the sneak attack against the Galenti and the atrocities that surrounded it, they recognize that it would be unwise to criticize Hate's actions publicly, and though they prefer not to admit it, they too have been invigorated by the state's recent military victories. Overall, then, the Liberals are ambivalent when it comes to the Hate question. While they disapprove of his methods, many of his stated ideals resonate strongly with the faction. They're waiting to see what happens before deciding which side to come down on, but regardless, they are prepared to take decisive action to prevent their own goals from being subverted. Patriots. Generally regarded as the most powerful faction, the Patriots are an alliance of Lai Dai Corporation, Wairkami Corporation, and the mighty Kalakiota Corporation, who between them and their subsidiaries possess capabilities rivaling those of the other two Caldari political factions combined. They are genuinely patriotic and extremely proud, less concerned with trade and more with the position of the Caldari politically and militarily in the international community. A small minority called for a renewed war with the Galenti prior to YC-110. Caldari superiority, both militarily and economically, is the chief concern of the Patriots. However, that rather jingoistic pride has been mortally injured by Taibas Hate's politically vicious rise. As a result, they generally refuse to admit, even to each other, that many of the things Hate has done are exactly what they themselves have wanted to do all along. While the wounds are still too fresh for them to feel anything but hatred for him, they realize that to defy him openly would harm the state, and their dominant position within it, immeasurably, so for now they play along with him and pretend, as much to themselves as to anyone else, that they're not immensely enjoying giving the Galenti a black eye. Disassociated. Standing outside the traditional power structures are two distinct groups of Caldari who together make up the disassociated. The first group is composed of those who've fallen off the bottom rung of the megacorp ladder. While they retain their citizenship, in practice these few people simply fall through the cracks between the megacore and have essentially disappeared from the system, usually permanently. The second group includes those who found themselves moving between 2 or 3 different corporations, usually upper-middle management, transferred between corporations in a giant game of pass the personnel, and who have in the process realized quite how thoroughly indoctrinated the average employee is. Those from the first group tend to take part on some level in the criminal underworld, while those from the second often end up doing very well in non-standard careers or in unlikely places within the corporate structure, united solely by their lack of adherence to any franchised corporate ideology. Their opinions as a result are incredibly diverse, and as long as this discreteness remains the case, and their membership stays as small as it traditionally is, they'll continue to exert little significant pressure on state affairs.